When and where did the battle take place? El Alamein. First Battle of El Alamein took place from the 1st of July to the 27th in 1942. The battle was the Western Desert Campaign of the Second World War, fought in Egypt between Axis forces, Germany, and Italy. Tobruk took place in Italy, Libya, April 10th to 1941, to November 27th, 1941. Who were the major combatants? El Alamein. The Battle of El Alamein marked the culmination of the North African campaign between the forces of the British Empire and the German-Italian Army, commanded in the field by Erwin Rommel in World War II. Tobruk. Axis forces advanced through Sicurian from El Ajalia in Operation Sommerbroom against the British Western forces in Libya. How many troops were involved? El Alamein had 13 divisions and 500 tanks, totaling about 100,000 men. Tobruk. 1941, around 14,000 Australian soldiers were based in Tobruk by German-Italian Army, commanded by General Erwin Rommel.
How long were the battles? El Alamein. First battle, from the 1st to the 27th of July, 1942, 27 days. Second battle, 23rd of October to the 11th of November, 1942, 20 days. Tobruk. April 10th, 1941 through November 27th, 1941, 8 months.
Who were the commanding officers in charge of the battle? One of them was British Commander Bernard Law Montgomery, who launched an infantry attack at El Alamein on October 23, 1942. The other was German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, who returned to battle from illness and tried to halt the tide, but the British advantage in personnel and artillery proved too overwhelming. What were the casualties? In the Battle of Tobruk between April and November 1941, the Allies suffered over 3,000 casualties and had 941 captured, most of whom were Australian. The Axis suffered about 8,000 casualties. In the first battle of El Alamein, 10,000 were killed or wounded, and there were 7,000 prisoners. In the second battle, the Axis lost 36,939 to 59,000 men. 9,000 of those who were killed or missing, 15,000 wounded, and 35,000 prisoners. The Allies in the first battle lost 13,250 people, and in the second battle, 13,560 men, 4,810 of those who were killed or missing, and 8,950 wounded. What types of technology and warfare were employed during this battle? In the first Battle of Tobruk, both sides had armies of men, tanks, and anti-tank weapons. Also a large supply of artillery pieces. In the second Battle of El Alamein, both sides had armies of men, tanks, armored cars, artillery pieces, and anti-tanks weapons. Specifically, the Axis had 116,000 men, 547 tanks, 192 armored cars, and 770 to 900 serviceable aircrafts. The Allied powers had 195,000 men, 1,029 tanks, 435 armored cars, and 730 to 750 serviceable aircraft.
Why were these battles significant? Tobruk. First, military in North Africa. Tobruk represents one of the best ports on a long stretch of North African shoreline. Not only would Axis forces have to be deployed to contain the place, but also there might be a threat of a breakout into the Axis rear. Supplies would have been moved overland from ports further west, the best and safest being Tripoli, on the far side of the Italian colony of Libya. Here the Germans had suffered a serious reverse, and the Tobruk garrison had demonstrated that the hitherto successful blitzkrieg tactic could be defeated by resolute infantry who held their ground by defense in depth and by individual courage. El Alamein. First battle was a stalemate, but the second battle had all the significance. The Battle of El Alamein marked the culmination of the North African campaign between the forces of the British Empire and the German-Italian army commanded in the field by Erwin Rommel in World War II. El Alamein was a battle of World War I, character methodical, using massed artillery, with limited advances made good and counterattacks defeated until breakout. By May 1943, the campaign was over and the Mediterranean dominated by the Allies. Meanwhile, in Russia, the Germans were suffering disaster at Stalingrad. The two battles, Stalingrad and El Alamein, proved to be the watershed of the war against Germany. Behind Stalingrad, El Alamein was probably the most important battle of the war, a brilliant feat of British military work.